Alright, so I'm just in the middle of recording a brand new full-length video tutorial to go onto my website, and part of that tutorial is where I actually cut out the tree that you can see on screen now and put it into a new environment. So as it's a really quick way to do it, quick technique, I thought I'd just do that as a short video for you this week. So how do I go about cutting it out? Well, simply I would use, for something like this, the select, and I'd go to color range. The contrast between the actual tree and the sky should make this really, really simple. But there's just a couple of extra little things in there that I want to show you. Now, if you haven't used it before, the color range basically works by whenever we bring up the dialog box, we put our cursor into our picture, and anywhere that we click, the color underneath it is what we're going to select. So Photoshop will look at the color you click on top of, then it'll say what else in that picture as a similar color, and then you'll see that show up in the preview just over here on the right hand side. You can see that some areas are white, some areas are black. Well, basically wherever you click down, that kind of color and the colors just either side of it are what's being selected and showing up as white in the preview. Now what I want to do is I want to get the tree out of this scene here. So I'm going to click down on some of the leaves, and I can also hold down my shift key and then click and drag across the tree to pick up a few more kind of leaves in there that have got a slightly different color to them and tint. I can also use this thing here called the fuzziness slider. I don't know why they called it fuzziness, maybe range would be a better name for it, but basically what this means is wherever we click down, we can then go to the right hand side to tell Photoshop to choose more colors either side of where we clicked, or we can take it to the left to say choose less colors than where we actually clicked on top of. I'm going to take it a little bit to the right, and you can see that the preview here is getting more and more white over that tree area, but there's so far I want to go with it. If I go too far, you can probably see on your screen how the actual sky area is starting to go a little bit funky. So let's just bring that back a touch to somewhere like that. Once you've done that, you click OK. Photoshop throws a right hissy fit, and you can see all the marching ants going all over the place. Now, we only want the tree. I don't want all this bottom bit with all the grass and these smaller trees here selected. So I'm just going to get my lasso tool, hold down my Alt key, so that's going to take away from the selection, and I'm just going to drag a very, very rough outline into the sky, down around the trunk, and then over to the right-hand side, underneath, and all the way back up. And that now has taken all those other areas that have been selected out. So the only one's really around the tree. So to cut the tree off the background, now that we've got the marching ants there, I'm just going to click to add a layer mask, and it kind of virtually cuts it out. And you can see that it's done an okay job, but there are quite a few transparent areas. In fact, to make that just a little bit easier to see, I'm going to put a layer beneath that. So if I hold down my Command or Control key, click on the new layer icon, it'll put a layer directly below, and I'm going to fill that with white. So we've got Edit, Fill, and we'll just choose white and click OK. So now you can kind of see what we're getting here. Now, there are certain areas in the sky that aren't pure white, and if I just hold down my Option key or Alt key, click on the layer mask, you can see that we've got quite a bit of grey coming in there, which we don't want. So I need to get rid of that, and a really quick way I can do that is just get a brush, a normal brush with a black foreground colour, and the trick here is I'm going to use a blend mode. In the options at the top, I'm going to choose overlay. So this basically means I can use this brush and it'll only affect the grey areas. And you can see as I'm painting around, you can see that the brush is actually going over parts of the tree, but it's not affecting them. It's only affecting the grey areas on that black kind of, or what should be black, around the tree. The great thing with this as well is the tree did have a few bits of transparency, and you can probably see on the screen how it's not pure white in some areas. Well, using that same overlay blend mode with a brush, if I now paint with white, I can then paint over the tree, and it'll actually increase the white over the grey areas within the tree, but again, it's not affecting the opposite colour. So you can see as I paint on the trunk, the black areas of the image aren't being affected. So this is a really great way of kind of finessing any kind of layer masks or channels that you create. So let's just go for around about there. Now let's go back to the normal view, hold down the Alt or Option key, click on the layer mask, we can see there that's done a pretty good job. Now if you wanted the tree to have a little bit more density, if it still wasn't looking quite good, if we just zoom in, just watch the leaves now. If I just duplicate this layer by holding down my Command or Control key and pressing J, can you see how the leaves and the branches kind of thickened up a little bit? And you can press it again and again until you get a really dense tree there. So the top layer selected, I'm going to hold down my Shift key, click on the bottom layer, so now all four of those layers are selected. Go to the flyout menu at the top right hand corner of the layers panel. I'm just going to go merge layers, and then I've got my tree cut out, because now if I get my move tool, I can then click, move the tree around, and I can drag it off put it into a new scene and composite it in. So it's just a really quick way that you can actually cut out something that would ordinarily you'd think would be quite tricky, but just a really simple use of the color range, and then using that overlay blend mode with a brush when you're painting in black or white makes it so much easier. Right, that's all I've got for you. I'll see you next week.